Okay, so I'm out back. I want to expand on the polymath conundrum. Um, so the creativeness, right? I listed some creative things. The cloth piece, right? The tattooing. I also paint. I wanted to describe that as well. And so uh, my philosophy, right? My inventions. Okay. I also, like I said, I also paint. Um, and also I want everybody to know the reason why I'm doing this. There's an order of operations. There's a strategic order of operations that I'm following that I created in prison. Um, and so I want you to know that um, I am using the art of war, except I'm cutting out the deception. I believe that on a defensive measure that it might be appropriate, and there's direct and indirect warfare. Okay, indirect is basically limitless, but I want to stay honest and true. I don't like the deception part, and so I'm having to basically change a lot of things in the art of war. I know that sounds crazy, but and cut out the deception point of things and base it with honesty and truth, because that I believe is what prevails. Um, and so the main objective, okay, is a nonprofit, okay, and that is I created a nonprofit. I'm going to start small. It's called the Coffee Canvas, or the Java Haiku, and based upon the One Soup Haiku, it's just called the Java Haiku. I researched Coffee Canvas. There is a coffee shop called Coffee Canvas, but this is a mobile RV that is modified into a mobile coffee shop that I can drive around to different areas and locations and give out coffee to homeless people. Also, backpacks full of things that homeless people need. I've been homeless, so like I said, I'm certified to do this. I know what homeless people need because I've been homeless, and so it would be a backpack, full of items, and also gift cards to like Goodwill, because I don't want to take up the space of a backpack with clothes. If I could give you a gift card, right, and then you could go pick out your own clothes, right, and then a gift card maybe to Walmart, and then a gift card to like a restaurant, instead of eating food out of like Wawa like I used to do. And not saying that Wawa is a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, homeless people would like to sit down and have a meal, at a restaurant or something. That's what I wanted to do anyway. I know the feeling of just not being in society, just like an outcast. I'm walking around on the street, right? And I'm having to basically jump from location to location. I can't stay at one location too long, otherwise I'd get trespassed. Now, the strange thing about my homelessness was this: I didn't look like a homeless person. I could tell you the strategy that I used with when I was homeless. I actually had a job, I had a bank account, I had a Planet Fitness. Yeah, it was like $10 a month to be a part of Planet Fitness. So they have showers there, right? And so I would get off work, right, and I would go to Planet Fitness, and then I'd work out, and then I'd shower, all for $10 a month. It's actually a pretty good strategy, because you have you're paying for a service, so they're not going to kick you out. I don't look homeless, but it was odd because I didn't fit in with homeless people, and I didn't fit in with people that were not homeless. So I was kind of in between. However, like I said, I utilized these situations to come up with solutions. And so the Coffee Canvas would be a solution. It would be mobile, and I could go around and give like quality coffee to homeless people, and give them a backpack with those 3 different gift cards. So I had a book in the library. I'm gonna have to go back the library in prison, that is. And then I wrote down a lot of this information on nonprofits. And then, so, I mean, there's websites, foundations that give out money for these things. Also, the government has grants so that you can use this money to, but you have to, they check up on you and stuff like that, and that's fine. But I'd rather just take my own money, that I make, and then, so I was thinking of making four accounts, one a checking, one a savings, one a business, and one a nonprofit. Now, the nonprofit, nothing touches the nonprofit. No, there's no accounts, or it's separate. All these are separate. The savings account is actually separated as well into investments, long-term investments. I started studying ETFs and things of that nature. And I know it's probably, novice and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm studying all these things across the board, and so I'm only one person, man. I'm doing the best that I can with what I got, which isn't much. And so eventually, the savings account is long-term investments, and then the business money that I make, the profits that I make from the business will be split in three, which would go into checking, checking, and nonprofit and savings. And so that's the kind of the plan. I came up with this on myself. I didn't read any books about this. It's kind of like common sense. Voltaire said that common sense isn't common. It's kind of a paradox, but so anyway, and I want to describe. I actually came up with a superhero based upon Iron Man. His name is Ironic Man. And so I was in the hospital because I had an iron deficiency, and I was on life support. I almost died because of it. And so I came up with a dualistic superhero, kind of like Superman, and Clark Kent. He was just Clark Kent, and then Superman was Superman. He lived two lives. But Ironic Man, ironically, has developed his powers from an iron deficiency. And so he was on life support, and he was contacted while he was in a coma by, I guess you could say, gods, or whatever. It's a comic book, man, so I do believe in God the Father, that there is only one God. I am also a Christ follower. I believe in Jesus Christ. But, this is a comic book, so I'm just, I don't want to get too, dogmatic about this situation. And so this guy, he was contacted by the gods, and they found out that he was worthy. And then so he woke up out of his coma, and now he has these abilities, kind of like Superman, but like way more advanced. And then his Clark Kent, I guess, identity is also superhero, but it's like subtle. He can mess with reality in ways to help people. He has like telekinetic abilities, and he can move things with his mind. He can read minds. He can affect electronics and things of that nature. And so I also came up with brainstorming actually for a novel based on the Nag Hammadi Library, which is the Gnostic Gospels. In 1945, there was 13 clay jars that were found in Egypt, and they call it the Nag Hammadi Library. And there's something called the Sixth Codex, and so it has 12 different books, I think. I'm not exactly sure, maybe 13. There's a poem actually in there called Thunder Perfect Mind. Anyway, so there's also something that they talk about is the Archons. And so I wanted to come up with a kind of a fantasy / superhero novel about, and actually combined this spirituality as well together, about the Archons and Sophia, and And these superheroes, you know, they unite, and then they unite also with these humans. They find these humans, these polymaths, these extremely creative polymaths, and they kind of unite to fight these Arkans that have taken over the planet that nobody knows about. And it's you know, they're basically just like perpetrators, you know, that perpetrate spirituality and goodness and honesty and virtue, but really they're just tyrannical fucks, you know, that need to be taken out the game. And so that is the novel also. And then so with that, then I also come up with something called the Just Art Compound, or campus, I'm sorry, not a compound. It's a campus. It's basically, and it's not something big or anything. It's just like it's like a house, right? And these artists, they kind of like it's kind of like an Airbnb. And so they get together and they go to this house and they kind of live together. And then there's a separate building that has, well, not a building, but like a house. I don't want to make this like some utilitarian bullshit. You know, it's a house, and there's another house on the property, and that house is converted into just some creative, super creative, like, thing. You know, the creativeness is limitless. You know, whatever you need, all the supplies, all the computer systems, AI. You know, anything you want to make, it's there. You know, it's at your fingertips. Music. There's all instruments. There's everything. You know, the whole nine yards. And so, you know, where does this end with me? You know, the creative ability. You know, I mean, I've actually come up with a TV show. I've come up with a museum, a tattoo museum. I'm thinking like, okay, so all these people have these beautiful tattoos, and then they die, and then the art is gone. So now what? You know, and then it's like, okay, well, what happens if these people can scan their tattoos, and then some 3D printer can print out like body parts, you know, with the art on it, and then they could place it in a museum. And I'm thinking like, you know, a TV show based upon, called Felons Inc., based upon got people getting out of prison on parole or whatever, and you know, there's not many opportunities. The tattoo world, right, calls them scratchers, right? They're scratchers, yeah. I mean, and there's no support from this. And the funny part about the whole situation is, with tattooing, there used to be coil machines, okay, and coil machines work on magnets, and so now, you know, they're utilizing these rotary pens and things like that. Where do you think this shit comes from, man? That's like prison shit, you know? I build tattoo machines, you know? Like, I have one right now that I brought from prison, and it's very original. It's not even, I utilize all kinds of different things that, I mean, listen, man, I had a tablet battery, okay, that was torn out of a tablet, and I used graphite, okay, attached to a toothbrush bracket that was created, okay, and turned into a rheostat, okay, to raise, you know, the speed and lower the speed of the actual tattoo machine, okay. And it's ridiculous, you know. You don't believe me? Go on my Facebook and see. I took a picture of it in prison. I actually had a phone. I didn't have a phone. I was tattooing somebody to use a phone, and so I took a picture of it, and it's there. I have the proof, you know. And then I put pink around it, and people are thinking like, oh, what's he got pink for? Da, da, da. So there's a guy that I listen to, a rapper that I think is extremely creative. He's definitely an influence on me. His name's Token, and so he has an album called Pink is Better, and that represents balance. That is what pink stands for. It's red and white mixed together makes pink. And so he describes his anger, and then the white is his surrender to his anger, and it creates a pink. And so that is a big thing with me. It's pink, and it's not because I necessarily, I mean, I do like the color pink, but it means more to me. It means, it's a philosophical thing. It's a musical thing. The balance is extremely, extremely important. You know, the mind, body, and soul. And even with this tetrahedron that I have, there's something called the macabre. Okay, and the macabre is two interlocking tetrahedrons. Okay, and these represent, you know, basically the mind, body, and soul. All right, and people, You know, they might go with the mind, the intellect, and that's it, right? Or they might go spiritual, and they don't utilize their mental abilities or their physical. I utilize all three. You know, I work out, I drink my protein shakes, I try to eat as healthy as I can. Yes, I smoke cigarettes. I feel like Constantine, you know. And so the movie, by the way, not the actual emperor. Anyway, so that's basically that's what I got for right now. I'll be making more videos. I have so much to say. I don't want to bring out too much at one time. But I have so much to say, and I've just kept this all bottled up, man. It's like the INFJ, you know, and it needs to come out. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't need help either. You know, if there's anybody that sees this video that believes in me, you know, let's talk. You know, part of this is a movement as well. You know, this is not just me. You know, I want to connect with people. I want, you know, it's important for me to do this. You know, for others. You know, the whole point of the Percepticon philosophy. You know, I'm taking the money that I make from the Percepticon philosophy. I'm not going to buy nice shit. All right, I'm taking it and investing it into the business. Okay, then the business builds, and then I can create the nonprofit. Like I said, there's an order of operations. That people think, oh well, Justin's so self-absorbed, and that he's you know, he's not. No, there's a bigger plan, and it's for others. That's the point. You know, it's what I can do to give back. That is the goal.